Nohana before we get there. We take a look at the airstrip directory. Nohana is a class 3 runway. It's you can only land one direction, runway 27. It says a very particular pattern. We fly overhead, then you descend following these purple lines. Descend onto a base leg, and on final approach, slightly above the sediment layer, you kind of fly into this bowl, and so the abort is over the river. It is a pretty far abort. It's far from the runway. It's one of our furthest aborts for all of our airstrips here in Lesotho. Usually the wind is favouring the land-in, so it's usually quite a nice runway to land on. But we'll be want to be committed at the river, either committed or aborted at the river. If we abort, we continue to the threshold and then a left-hand turn. And we usually sidestep that a little to give us more space. You'll see that as we fly in the valley where we're going. The length is 1791. Altitude's just below 5,300 foot, 6% uphill slope landing, and it's grass and gravel. Alright, so we just come over the ridge here. We can see Nohana there down just below me to the left and in front. And as you can see, it's in this bowl here, so that's the reason that the runway is one direction. Because there's a big mountain that side and there's mountains all around, so the only exit is kind of at my current 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock position. Alright, the airstrip is visible to me just in front, off to the left. When we're flying over it, checking that it's clear, and then turning around into the specific pattern to land. This river below me to the left is the abort point, so you can kind of get a sense of the distance there for the abort. Yeah, as we cross that river on final approach will be the committed point where we will say, or the abort point, which we will either call committed or aborted. Alright, wind looks pretty calm, maybe less than 5 knots. I'm coming up to 6,300 foot here. Getting myself set up for the landing. Having a look at the runway, is clear. Wind is calm. The clinic is below me on top of this ridge here. Continue my descent, second stage of flaps as we turn. And report into flight follower that we're landing. As I turn here, you'll get another glimpse of the runway or the airstrip and the river. You get a sense of where that abort point is on final approach. And take note as well, just off to my left, this little hill here is the right hand side of the bowl. So I'm going to be doing the abort, the turn within this bowl, and then flying out essentially along the river that's out in front of me in this direction. Okay, as I descend here on what's essentially a downwind, mixture is rich, selector is on the left and aux pump is off. My airstrip wind lasso has been briefed. We spoke about that coming in, we've checked the wind and we know that it's clear. Alright, my abort is crossing the river on final approach. I'll abort if my ground speed is more than 80, if my approach is unstable, or if there's something on the runway. Okay, I want a stable approach within plus or minus 5 knots. And as you heard there, my ground speed cutoff is, I'm going to make it 80 knots. I'm expecting a headwind, but should we have some kind of weird wind, I don't want to be landing with more than 80 knots. This is my base leg here, so going with last or third stage of flaps, brakes and prop is checked. And as I start to get on position onto final approach, there's this these rocks in front of me, and about halfway down the mountain there's a line of rock. I want to be just above that on final approach. I'm going to go ahead and do my final approach checks with flaps. Cowl flaps are closed, green light for landing. Get my speed down to 60 knots on the airspeed, flying as close as I can to this ridge on the left. Looking at my runway, 60 knots airspeed, 72 ground speed, that looks good. Turning on to final approach. Not yet reached the river. Approach is stable. Approach is stable, ground speed is checked. Coming up to the abort point. Abort, abort, abort. Okay, full power. Here, flaps to 20. Airspeed is more than 80. I'm turning hard left here over the abort, or over the threshold rather. Right in front of this ridge on my left. Now in front of me, I can turn a little more steeply. All the way around. Starting to climb with the extra airspeed. Okay, turn radius, no issue. Cleaning up the flaps all the way. And safely climbing out into the valley in front of me. So flaps up, cowl flaps open, power. Let's adjust the power. Mixture, selector, sorry. Power, mixture, engine instruments, nav instruments, performance instruments checked. Fuel caps are closed. And no passengers radio call. I'm going to push blue again to tell the flight follower that I will be setting up again for the landing. We are committed. .69 on the ground speed. These people are pretty close, but that's okay. All right. Anchor down and brake in. Okay, well that is the abort at Nohana. I hope that you enjoyed that and that it was all clear as I was busy with flying and talking. I hope that it made sense and that you were able to get something interesting from it. Thanks for joining. I will see you next time. Cheers.